What's up, everybody? Couch Mills here, coming at you with a brand new Overwatch video. And in this video, we gotta break down the brand new experimental patch notes that has changes to DPS, tanks, and supports. So there's something for everyone in this patch notes. So we're gonna break it all down, talk about the changes, what they're gonna mean for you, your mains, and the meta as a whole. So we're gonna jump right into it, but smash that like and subscribe, and go to the GameLeap website in the links down below for the highest quality in-depth Overwatch guides. We got in-depth advanced guides, tips and tricks, VOD reviews, so much damn content on the GameLeap website. You gotta go check it out right now. But without further ado, let's jump into the video. So how we're gonna do this is we're just gonna read the changes as is, and then we're gonna talk about the implications for the changes for you. So let's jump right into it, talking about Baptiste at the very beginning. Baptiste, biotic launcher, his secondary fire, healing projectile explosion reduced from 60 to 50 health. Healing projectile direct impact now restores an additional 20 health. Immortality field now protects teammates to a minimum health threshold of 10% maximum health, down from 20%. Now let's take these changes one at a time and talk about them. First off, biotic launcher, which is the primary way that Baptiste is going to heal allies, and the fact that the explosion is reduced from 60 to 50, but the direct is now increased 20 health, means that if Baptiste is directly targeting you, like he's picking you and you alone to heal, he's going to be able to burst you up even harder than he was before. However, in general, Baptiste really like to get spam heals on multiple targets, and that's going to take a hit here. Essentially, he's going to be a little bit worse at overall team healing, but he's going to be a lot better at more specific, focused individual healing. Now, the immortality field change is definitely an interesting one as well, because now you can get all the way down to that 10% maximum health instead of 20. This means that Baptiste and other supports are going to have to really put resources into you for when that immortality field fades, because you're essentially going to be one tap after the fact. So I do overall like nerfs to immortality field. I think that's good. Not entirely sure to the overall change to biotic launcher, which actually feels like it's gonna be a pretty noticeable buff and not a nerf, even though it's kind of a mix-up. But all in all, they're just tuning with Baptiste. We're gonna have to see what happens to him as the dust settles. He didn't dramatically get buffed or nerfed in this patch, though. Now, the next change has to be MVP change of the goddamn patch, and it's D.Va. Her call mech now, the damage is increased from 50 to 250. So every single DPS is going to run up on D.Va. If she calls her mech on them, she's gonna freaking kill you. Now, while I think the actual application of this is pretty niche, maybe there could be some fun combos you could do with like a grabbed call mech if you're playing D.Va Zarya or something like that. But realistically, all you have to do to play around this as anyone besides D.Va is just stay the freak away from her when she's remeching. You gotta remember that D.Vas aren't gonna actually try to strategically use this that often, because it's just too risky to stay in baby D.Va for too long, more than you need to. So typically they're just gonna go to safety, call mech. They don't want to get shot while they're calling the mech. But I do think that some of these mech call kills are gonna happen a little bit more, which is just gonna be funny to say the least. And it actually makes sense that a freaking mech dropping on your head actually does a lot of damage, right? Now, the next change is actually a really big one that a lot of people have been asking for a while. It's Echo. When duplicate ends, Echo will return to the health value she had prior to activating the ability, or to 100 health, whichever is higher. So before, what you could do with Echo is you could get in, go all in, get to like 1 HP, pop a copy, and then when you're done with it, you have full health again. Now, that's no longer the case. Now, if you do want to play like that, where you go and get really low and copy, you're still going to pop out as Echo with 100 health, but if you're full health before you copy, you're going to pop out with full health, or whatever health is the highest. So it's definitely going to be something to consider, and it might change up the way that people use their duplicate, because a lot of people were just going all in and copying. That was the predominant style before, but now, most likely, people want to have that full health, because they don't want to risk getting punished after the fact. And for everyone that was up against Echo, I know it was incredibly frustrating that she got to do this over and over again, and it just felt like there was no window of time for you to punish her for using her ultimate, but now there is if the Echo is too greedy. So all in all, it's a rather small nerf to Echo. However, it's going to feel a lot better for players up against Echo. Now the next change is just a straight up buff, and it's to Moira. With her biotic orb, the cooldown got reduced from 10 to 8 seconds. I think that this is because Moira hasn't been seeing a lot of pick rate even in the lower ranks where she should really thrive, and they've buffed her accordingly. And while this doesn't look like a pretty big change, having her go-to ability biotic orb that's going to help her generate ult charge and help her team in long sustained fights, having that ability be on a smaller cooldown can have really big effects over the entire character as a whole. And I do think that this is going to make Moira feel a lot better over those long sustained fights in those Ryan Zarya duels. But it's impossible to know just how much impact this is going to have on her pick rate relative to other supports in the game. But this does make her a better flex option in those games where you don't have any peel or any help. And I know many of you have been in those scenarios, and Moira with that mobility, now it's just going to have a little bit more impact as well, and it's going to feel really good. And the next character that we got to talk about is a character that no one wants buffed. Okay, maybe all 4 of you, but it's Erisa, and her the cooldown got reduced from 8 to 6 seconds. Now, that is like really fast. You can hold a freaking lot with Erisa, and honestly, I'm glad that they're buffing her in this way. I would much rather they buff her in this way than buff her shield, because we've all played through the double barrier metas many times, but having Erisa have her halt be one of the predominant abilities on her kit, honestly, that is where all the skill is on Erisa. That's where all the engagement is, the fun is on Erisa, and I'm kind of glad that if they are going to buff something on her, it's going to be halts. Now, Erisa still is in a really weird spot where she can't quite take on that main tanking role very easily, but she doesn't really do enough in double shield to make her useful compared to the other options. Now, I don't really think that this is going to change that, but it is individually going to make Erisa a little bit more powerful. And on the maps where you can utilize halt the most, you know, maps like Ilios Well, for instance, I'm guessing you're going to get more chances to carry team fights, which is going to be overall a good thing for the character. Now, the next character that we got to talk about, the beefcake himself, Daddy Reinhardt. His general armor reduced from 250 to 200. Health and armor total reduced from 550 to 500. So basically, this is just a straight up Reinhardt nerf. Why are they nerfing my boy Reinhardt? You know, Reinhardt has been meta for just a little while, and it's looking like they're already freaking targeting the character. Now, that being said, Reinhardt is incredibly powerful, and I'm not even sure that this change will make him not good. I actually think he's still going to be perfectly viable. It is just a little bit frustrating taking away some of the sustain from one of the fan favorite characters in the game. But essentially, all you're going to have to do to play Reinhardt to the same effective rate is just recalibrate just how aggressive you could be without heals, how much you jiggle in and out of combat, because there's going to be some situations that you just need to be a little bit more reserved than you were before. Now, moving on to the next character we got to talk about in the video, it's Roadhog, and his scrap gun got changed. Scrap gun, his primary and secondary fire, damage per projectile increased from 6 to 6.6. Now, while it's rather difficult to tell you how this is going to impact his alternate fire, the convergence fire of his scrap gun, his primary fire having any sort of buff like this, even if it's only 0.6 per pellet, is actually a really big deal when you talk about a shotgun on Roadhog and his one-shot capability. There's going to be a lot of situations where before you wouldn't have been able to one-shot an opponent before they got an ability off that saved them, that now you'll be able to just straight up one-shot them with ease, and there's more of a margin for error for not hitting those perfect one pumps that you had to do before. Now, people that are not 6 might actually be able to kill people after they hook them, but all joking aside, it's just a pretty minor looking buff. But as far as the general feel for playing Roadhog, it's gonna feel way better for the vast majority of players. Now, last but certainly not least, we gotta talk about Sombra. Her stealth got changed. Fade time when entering or exiting stealth reduced from 0.75 to 0.45 seconds. Movement speed bonus increased from 50 to 60%. Now, essentially, that window of time when you're trying to pop out of stealth and deal damage to an enemy, or if you're trying to pop into stealth and get away, that's going to be reduced by quite a bit. Almost half, not quite half, but it's going to feel a lot better. There's going to be a smaller window of time for you to get punished when you're popping in and out of stealth, and that's just going to feel better for Sombra players. Now, the movement speed bonus doesn't seem like it's that big, but just more speed on top of stealth is just going to make Sombra more effective at getting around the map, getting getting in and out of combat and setting up for those really big EMP plays. So this is going to feel like a pretty big buff to Sombra all in all. Don't know if that will make her that good for ranked play or pro play or anything like that. And I think really important for everyone to understand is that only really powerful changes or a multitude of many changes can change metas. It's not like small little tweaks will all of a sudden change a meta out of nowhere, especially when a character doesn't fit in intrinsically with the meta that is being played. So maybe a slightly buff Sombra and other buff characters are going to enable a new type of strategy, and that could be like a new meta, quote unquote. But typically we will only know if something's going to be meta if the change in that character is so freaking powerful that the meta is going to shift around that. And for this patch, not that many crazy changes that I think are going to dramatically affect the meta, but little micro changes that might add up to a big meta change. But definitely let me know what you think about all the changes in the comments down below. I'm glad that we finally got some sort of changes coming down the pipeline, but I would really love some more proactive changes. Maybe give us some more diverse metas, especially when Overwatch is a little stale right now. But let me know what character you would change and why in the comments down below. And go to the GameLeap website for in-depth advanced guides and VOD reviews over every single one of the characters we talked about in this video. So if you really want to level up your game and start practicing characters that recently got changed, you got to go check out the GameLeap website down below. But thank you so much for coming by. Hope you enjoyed the video. I love your freaking faces, and I'll see you tomorrow.